Tony Lloyd is with me now. He's the MP for Manchester Central. He's also chair of the Parliamentary Labour Party. Good afternoon.
Nice to see you here in my home studio.
Yes, you'd like it here, and we're very pleased to see you. David Cameron, the leader of the Tory party, has defended his spending cut plans, saying he's acting like a government, offering decisive leadership which the public want.
Well, it's acting like a government, but unfortunately not of a modern democratic country like Britain. This is a throwback, of course, to the days of his political forebear, Mrs Thatcher, when it was the most deprived people and the people who most needed help who were the ones who were given the least. And frankly, modern Britain can't afford to go back to those divisive times.
But modern Britain's in massive debt, Mr Lloyd, and we have to address that financial difficulty somehow. And if we're going to cut public sector pay for anybody earning over £18,000, it might be harsh, but it's got to be done, isn't it?
Well, I think the Chancellor's already announced, actually, this week that there will be pay restraint on senior civil servants in any case. I mean, that's there.
But the Tories are far more wide-ranging than yours, isn't there?
Well, the Tories' mathematics, actually, quite brutally simply don't add up. The kind of things they've promised to do that will increase spending, the kind of things they've now said they'll do to decrease spending, when you total them up together, it doesn't do what they claim is on the outside of the tin. Now, that's, as I think their Shadow Chancellor admitted, this is only their first step. But I think what people might want to look at very carefully is when they examine the real contents of the Tory package, who gets hurt by it? Does it do what they claim it does? Because it won't solve the nation's undoubted economic difficulties.
But it'll protect public sector jobs. Traditional Labour voters will feel possibly that their jobs are safer because, you know, the pay rise is not going to be imposed. Therefore, I'm better to be in a job with a fixed rate of pay.
But the Conservatives have actually said they'll cut a third of the civil service in the first Parliament. Now, that doesn't protect in public sector jobs. That's getting rid of an awful lot of jobs. And actually, quite frankly, we know where those cuts will fall, and it's in areas like my own, of people where we've always had traditionally high levels of unemployment, where, frankly, Tory governments in the past didn't care this unemployment increase. Now, we can't afford to go through all that again. It's socially disruptive. We paid a huge price here in the city of Manchester in terms of things like the way we saw crime increase in those Conservative days on the back of mass unemployment, and we really shouldn't be talking about going back there.
Well, on the subject of crime and antisocial behaviour, the Shadow Chancellor has made some fairly hard-hitting policy announcements today. He's attached taxes to fight high-strength alcohol. He's described city centres as battle zones and has given the police more powers. Again, this is going to play well with the electorate, isn't it? It
might play well with the electorate who don't know the inner cities, but it's the same Chris Grayling, the Shadow Home Secretary, who compared parts of my constituency to the streets of Baltimore when he claimed that there was urban war taking place. Now, quite frankly, a Shadow Home Secretary who is so out of touch is probably not the right person to have at the wheel of the Home Office car. Now, I asked Chris Grayling if he'd come with me to Moss.
Yes, did he take up your invitation?
No, of course he didn't, because I don't think he'd know. Now, I understand he's going to do something for the News of the World before an invited audience, so he'll no doubt come out saying, I understand the inner cities, I've been there once. But frankly, going into to meet an invited audience in my constituency doesn't add up to coming along and apologising to the people of Moss Side for the slander he levelled against them.
They are trying to reclaim what was traditional Tory ground and was perhaps stolen by Mr Blair with tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. They're trying to win back that traditional Tory vote and maybe the Middle England floating vote that hold the balance of power, and being seen to be tough on these issues, whether they are, you know, accurate or not, and you say you know the inner cities better, it will play with the electorate who hold the balance of power in the next election, won't it?
Well, what people up and down the country ought to be looking at very seriously on this is what do these policies really amount to? As it happens, on the issue, for example, of the price of alcohol, I think there is a good case for looking at whether that's a deterrent to young people drinking too much. But it won't solve it unless we've also got the police out there doing what we want the police to do, which is confiscating the alcohol, the kind of powers they've already got.
And grounding the kids, as the Shadow Home Secretary said.
But kids already can be grounded when they've been involved with the criminal justice system. That's something that the police already do. What we want, in actual fact, is not so much looking... I mean, price, I have no real problem with that. But in the end, it's actually stopping underage people drinking on our streets that would make a real difference. Now, nothing that Chris Grayling said actually addresses the real issues. It looks good window dressing, but like a lot of what we heard this week, window dressing isn't going to cut the mustard when it comes to changing our society.
Tony, thanks very much indeed for your time. We'll have to leave it there.